When people talk about child abuse today, of course, they always think of the book Mommy Dearest, because as I said, it was the first time a daughter of a Hollywood legend came out and told the truth about what was going on behind those wonderful, elegant closed doors. People were appalled, if you remember, to find out that Joan Crawford was such a horrific parent. Here to share today with us is her story of growing up in Hollywood Hill, is her daughter, Christina Crawford, and thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
And nowadays, people write the books, and they're not shocked. Your book shocked everybody.
It was a first.
Yes.
It was a first. And it wasn't just about Hollywood. I think it was the first time in memory that a child had told the truth about what really happens in the home with nobody watching. Right. And I think since everybody has been a child, what the chord that it struck is that essential childhood fear, the dependency, the need for protection, and so that's the chord it struck.
What happened when the book came out? Did anybody ever come up to you and say, and we were talking about this before Gary during the commercial break, did anyone come and say, I knew what was going on?
Oh, sure.
So
and of course, people did. Everybody did. In fact, you remember the old Confidential magazine?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they were going to do an expose on what happened in the house in the 1950s. And the studios came in and managed to stop it. I did an article for Red Book magazine about my teenage years. So people knew, the people in my school knew, my friends knew, my friends' parents knew, all the people that worked for us knew.
But nobody, again, because it was Joan Crawford. I know Kirk Douglas was on the show one time. He said, yes, he thought that was going on.
He knew, and he's been very outspoken. Yeah. So has Helen Hayes, so has June Allison. You know, there are many people that subsequently, many years later, have written books of their own and said, yes, it's true. But I think what is so important is that when I wrote the book, I had no idea what the depth of the problem was in the rest of the country. At that time, people didn't know about child abuse. There weren't any statistics, that kind of thing. And now we understand that the federal government is reporting 2 million children a year. More than that, all of us who grew up in alcoholic families, all of us that grew up in...
Was Joan Crawford
an
alcoholic?
Oh, yes. And in fact, I never really knew her any other way.
Except drunk?
Except, well, not necessarily drunk, but alcoholic. Yeah. And what now is the case is that those of us that grew up in those families that never got help, I call us survivors. And we have ongoing concerns for the next generation, for the way that our institutions are run, for the way in which our country is governed. Because we were taught...
Yes, but let me get back to... I agree with you.
Not to say anything, not to stick up for ourselves.
But you said something here just now, I want to go back to 1 second. You said people knew. What about the press? When I picked up Modern Screen magazine, and the four of you were romping with your happy parents, with the happy dog and the happy cat.
All right. I'll tell you exactly what happened. When those...
Where were these people? Why didn't they speak up?
When those situations used to arise, my dad would sit the four of us down. He said, we're going to do an interview with photoplay today. You know what that means? And we say, yes. That means nothing that goes on inside this house goes outside this house. You understand? And we went, oh, yeah. And then we went and we put on the little Argyle sweaters, and we sat down in a little row, and the press asked us questions, and when they did it, they went, you know what we think? We'd go, oh, yeah. And if they went, we don't know. We can. And we'd take the attitude from them, and we'd watch him out of the corner of our eye, and that was over. They left. The old man said, back in the trunk. We took that stuff off and put on the blue jeans and the T-shirt again. When I came out with the book in '83, I had people who were writing at the time of my childhood in Hollywood, writing those articles that you were talking about, say to me, apologize to me then, saying, Gary, we're sorry. When I got the cop to you, we knew what was happening, but in those days, we had our favorites, and we were ordered not to write about them.
And that's
the press and the studios were hand in hand. And if the studios took a certain reporter or a certain journalist into disfavor, they simply didn't get any stories, and so they didn't get any work. It was a very controlled atmosphere.
Now, Gary said at the end, he spoke to his father. You made up, because I've read the book, and my friend wrote the screenplay, Tracy Hodges, so really I'm very involved with it. You thought you were friends with your mother. You made up, you were very good to your mother at the end.
Yes.
I remember one time in the Waldorf, your mother was drunk, and she was looking for you, and you didn't even know who I was. And you came and you took her. It was so nice. And yet at the end, she screwed you. She left you out of the will with a nasty note saying, you know why. And what did she say?
Right. Well, for reasons well known to them. But
what was that
turned
about?
out, I have no idea. It turned out that that language had been in the will for years and years, maybe 12, 15 years, and had never been changed during all the time that we were close, that I was taking care of her, that I was filling in for her, because I was an actress for 14 years and living in New York where she was living. And when she couldn't make an engagement, rather than cancel, she'd send me to make her speech or to pick up the award or to have dinner with whomever. And then I found out that the language had been there from the time I was a teenager. So what that meant to me was that despite the years and years that I thought we were developing a relationship, deep down inside of her, she never changed.
We'll be back. Boy, it's complicated, isn't it? Do either of you have children, by the way?
Yeah.
I have a stepson.
Stepson?
I have my adopted son and three stepdaughters.
Okay, we'll talk about this and we'll talk about a lot more when we come back. We're going to be joined by Bette Davis' daughter, B.D. Hyman. So stay with us. It's astonishing.
Loving her is like shaking hands with the devil.
Brothers Art Mart's 1-cent frame sale is on now. Choose from the West's largest selection and save on thousands of frames, all kinds of frames, even custom frames, photo frames, acrylic frames, gold leaf, silver, ceramic, and more. All shapes, all sizes. Buy any frame and get a second frame at the same price or less for just a penny. It's like getting 2 frames for the price of 1. How's that for a cent well spent? The 1-cent frame sale on now at all 70 Aaron Brothers locations.
I was in a car accident, and I called Larry Parker the next day, and he took care of everything and got me $20,000.
I was in an automobile accident. I called Larry Parker right away. He handled everything for me, and he got me a great settlement.
Serious auto injuries require serious legal as well as medical attention. That's why I fight for you. Call 213-636-5151 or 714-761-1511.
Larry Parker got me $2.1 million.
Commercial diving, the most challenging profession in the world. WeldTech, underwater welder, the busiest divers in the business. In as little as 34 weeks, you too could be qualified as an underwater welding specialist with high-paying jobs available worldwide. If you're the kind of person who likes adventure in your job, we have just the career for you. Contact the College of Oceaneering today.
If you've been thinking about losing weight, now you can do it and help others at the same time. Because this month, you can join our introductory program for only $19, and we'll donate that entire amount to Easter Seals, which means you'll be helping people with disabilities do many things most of us take for granted. Just call 1-800-92-JENNY and join us to lose weight and help others.
My next guest, B.D. Hyman, is Bette Davis' only natural child. She led the kind of a life, again, that most people only dream of. She was very, very close to her mother, which is interesting, while she was growing up. But that all changed when her marriage came around, and Bette Davis decided that things were just going to be different. When Bette Davis died, you were estranged from your mother, weren't you?
Yes.
So what happened? Unlike Christina and Gary, you had a good early formative time.
Well, I mean, I was living with a wacko, neurotic movie star.
Yes.
So we have to take that into consideration.
Yeah.
So within those parameters, I had a terrific childhood. I didn't really have a childhood. Mother took me all around the world with her. I had a tutor who traveled with us because it was too inconvenient for her to have me in school. And I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That was great. She was a great star. I was her kid. That was fine. I got to go places, do things, meet people.
And what
No
happened?
problem. But you see, during my growing up, we fought. I had a nasty stepfather. I had some stuff, but everybody has stuff they deal with. But her problem with me didn't begin until her fantasy met the fact that I wasn't the person that she imagined I was, that I wasn't going to be her devoted slave for my whole life.
And her little girl.
Her little girl forever. And I was going to obviously have a marriage that worked. See, she was thrilled when I got married. And she was actually on very safe ground, because from the outside looking in, my marriage didn't have a shot. I was 16, a Hollywood brat. I was marrying this cultured Englishman who was 30, who incidentally was the youngest guy I dated in a year. Tell you about my life.
Right.
Yeah. And so she was secure. She was secure. Oh, it was lots of fun. And that to me was normal. This was cool. But I was very, very blessed. I met a fantastic guy who I've now been married to for 28 years.
Still same husband.
And he is just the neatest person I know.
So the marriage worked.
Great. Right. Well, that was Mother's problem. The marriage worked. And not only that, but he married me in spite of her, not because of her. He was not impressed with this lady. His comment about my mother was, she's the rudest actress I've met in Hollywood. And I've met a lot of rude ones.
Right.
You know, he was in the film production business. Right. And so he was far from impressed by her.
So what started to go wrong?
What started to go wrong was that I had a life that I loved, and I continued to live that life. And then I started to have children who I loved. And Mother, very, very point blank, would say to me, you know, I am going to destroy your kids, so your husband is going to have to take those kids and get them away from you, and I'm going to have you back, lady. You're mine.
She would say that to
Oh,
me.
yeah. Oh, yeah. You're mine. And so her hatred and her resentment of my husband and children was just massive. Now, I was married for 20 years when I wrote my book.
And you wrote your book unlike that.
20 years.
She was alive.
Yes, I did.
Why?
Because I had to get this lady out of my life. She was destroying my children. And the only way I could do it was to do something so public that she would go away. And that's exactly what she did.
Children?
It's very hard to explain. You know, it would take hours. But she would do to them a lot of the things that I hear Christina and Gary describing. She would beg, for instance, to have them spend the night with her. She wanted to get to know her grandsons. And she would absolutely beg to have them. And then she would terrorize them. She would attack them. She would hit them. She told me that I was being much too soft for my younger son. I was going to turn him into a fag. He needed to be toughened up. And this is a very sensitive, sweet little kid who you scowled at him and you might as well have spanked him. Right. You know, and so that was her plan. And because I loved them, she couldn't handle it.
We have your son, one of your sons, Justin.
Justin.
Can we bring him out? Does he remember these memories?
Yes, he does.
Justin,
vividly.
are you around?
He's quite a young man, too.
He's way too tall.
Yeah,
Way too tall.
Hello. How old are you? 14. Oh, so Justin, all right. And you look like your mom, by the way, may I say. That's
maybe a good thing, maybe not. You never know.
Well, maybe not. It's a good thing, trust me. Let me ask you, do you remember your grandmother?
Yeah, vividly.
And was she terrible?
She was sadistic. I mean, she threw me into a room once because I wouldn't eat my dinner because I was so upset when I was 5 because my mom and dad went out for dinner. So my brother took her by the collar and said, ever touch my brother again and I'll kill you.
His brother's 6'5".
Well, I was grateful for her because she came out to about here on him.
So she was just very... What is it? Here are 3 people... Was your mother also a drinker?
Yeah.
What is it with this whole thing? Is it that they came out of such hard backgrounds? What was your mother's background? Did she come up the hard way?
It was dreadful. She was abused as a child. She was abandoned by her family, and not her mother, but her father. I don't think she ever knew her real father, and then there were a progression of people, men in the house. My grandmother was extremely poor, and she didn't get along with her natural brother. So there was a lot of sibling rivalry. But I think what happened to her, as happens with a lot of people, is if you do not deal with where you come from and what your life is as a child, you replay it on your children, in your home, and in your life. And it will happen over and over and over again.
What about your dad?
My dad's father was a very gentle, kind little guy who played the mandolin, liked to make up songs and he'd teach them to us. His mother, however, was very stern and very formidable, and there were 7 children. And when they were in their 50s, my grandmother would enter the room, they'd all put out their cigarettes, they'd hide their drinks behind things, they'd do all... I don't know if he was ever abused, you know, but he had a thing about him. He didn't want any Hollywood kids, and he felt that he could create the kind of men he wanted as sons by raising boys with strict discipline and rules and regulations and no time for fun. And he had the one habit that most fathers had of that generation was this. If he said, I don't like what you're doing here, fix this, you fixed it and you came to him and said, hey, Dad, I fixed this, he would say, yeah, but you didn't fix this, did you? There was never, nice going, baby, good way to go. There was no praise. It was always, in my day, the kids, the fathers were always afraid. I always heard in the background people saying they might get the big head, talking about kids. They're afraid to give them, afraid they'd get cocky or confident, so the way was to drill them with it.
I want to ask you about,
Mine was the opposite. Mother decreed me a Hollywood princess. And decided that's what I was and treated me as such.
No, I'm talking about her background.
But her background was New England. She had a mother and a father. They were divorced when she was fairly young, but that's, you know, no big thing, no messy divorce. She and her sister and her mother, and she went into the theater.
But I don't think we know the truth, because a lot of people, even when I first wrote the book, which is 12 years ago, when I first started talking to people, I mean, I will never forget a man in a television show like this.
I will come back in 1 second to finish this, and I also want to find out when was the last time that you spoke to them. Okay. Okay? And we'll be back in a moment. And would you stay on with us? Sure. Because you're getting a lot of younger viewers. So that's good. Good demographic. Good demographic. We'll be back in a moment, so please stay with us.
She was sympathetic. My gynecologist said she'd been through it and the irritation could be intense. You couldn't cure a recurrent vaginal yeast infection fast enough. She said a woman should first see a doctor for an initial diagnosis. After that, with gynolotrimine, you can cure yourself. It's available full prescription strength without a prescription. She said it would bring me early treatment and early cure. Gynolotrimine, my gynecologist's cure, and mine.
Yoplait, low fat, calcium rich, with active yogurt cultures. 40-year-old Vicky Gentry knows taste isn't the only reason to eat Yoplait every day.
When things get tough, remember, Shake and Bake makes it easy to treat your family to plump, juicy pork chops without frying. Why fry? Shake and Bake.
Coming up next week, L.A. Law's Jimmy Smith, Carol Kane, Blair Brown, an hour of fashion do's and don'ts from Glamour magazine, how looks can be deceiving with Tula, the transsexual who made Playboy history, woo, 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 and a new look at John Lennon's last days, and of course, gossip, 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 gossip.
Have you ever been turned down for a loan because of your credit or income? Then call Gold Star Mortgage Corporation. We can make a second or third loan on your home even if you have had a bankruptcy, your payments are behind, or you are in foreclosure. No credit required at all. Call Collect 714-778-6424. Remember, even if you've had a bankruptcy, your payments are behind, or you are in foreclosure, no credit required at all. Call today 714-778-6424. That's 714-778-6424.
High-tech careers start at ITT Tech. Call now for this brochure. 1-800-942-0088.
Suffering from a workplace injury or illness? A lot of people want to help you. How do you choose? You want the most experienced and successful. That's the Injury Hotline. For any workplace injury, you only need one phone number. 800-654-2654. The original in helping workers secure medical benefits through their employer's workers' compensation insurance at no cost to you. The Injury Hotline, the only number you need.
You know, at Vaughn's, we're always looking for new ways to help our customers save. That's why we created the Vaughn's Club. And now, spend a combined total of $400 before November 10th, use your Vaughn's Club card, and you'll get a free turkey.
This week, assorted varieties of Vicks Throat Drops are only 99 cents, and selected varieties of Slim Fast Fruit Juice are just $5.49.
So if you want low prices and high quality, join the club, the Vaughn's Club.
about bad childhoods in Hollywood. Let me ask you, the last time you spoke to your mother, Bette Davis?
Last time I
Was
spoke
it
to her was, oh, no. No, she commanded me to fly to New York to sort this whole thing out. We were living in the Bahamas, and I said, you know, actually, she didn't want to sort it out. I did. She wanted me to come to New York and pretend nothing had happened. And I said, we have lots to talk about. She said, we have nothing to talk about. I said, well, then I'm not coming.
Did you go to the funeral?
No. There was no point.
What about you, Justin? Were you sorry you didn't go to your grandmother's funeral?
Not at all. If my mom had gone, I wouldn't have. It's just, I had no interest in it at all.
Somebody told me she did a terrible thing with a poker with you.
Oh, yeah. I was about 6½, and she got a red-hot fire poker out of the fireplace and threatened me with it about that far from my nose.
Did you say, Grandma, you're nuts?
Yeah.
Very fast.
I was kind of like, Grandma, you're nuts.
Well, children can even think about saying that today, but not in the time that we were growing up. And I think that's one of the fundamentals that has changed. Children today know that they are not supposed to be hurt and raped and treated in sadistic ways. That doesn't mean that they can do anything to stop the adult's behavior, but at least they know that it's wrong. We didn't know that. We had to keep secrets.
We thought it was our fault.
Right, right.
You said something very sad, again, during the break. You said that you were a speed freak before you were even drunk.
Well, that was one of the things I used to get.
Yeah,
I used to get whipping for that when my other brothers didn't. My dad never liked the size of my posterior. That's putting it nicely. He thought I was going to be a fat kid. So he picked a weight out of the air, and every Tuesday night I had to weigh that weight. And if I didn't weigh that weight, I got a whipping. So that meant that I weighed that weight, and he'd get it there to about 1/4 pound. He'd say, okay, you're safe this time. Tremendous relief, okay? Now I start to steal all the food I can get, because the only things he ever let me eat were grapefruit and red meat. So I'd steal all the food I could get, and by Friday I'd be 7, 8 pounds overweight. Now I'd steal all the laxatives in the house I could find, and I'd down them, and then I'd put on sweaters and stuff, and Monday, all day Monday, I wouldn't eat lunch, and I'd run the track at school, after school all day like that, and Tuesday I'd starve myself some more, and then Tuesday would come, and then, of course, the diet doctors showed up on the scene. Now, nobody knew that stuff they were giving us with amphetamines, you know, but all Dad knew was he paid a guy a lot of money. A guy gave me a box with 4 sections with funny colored pills. I took them like this, and I got thin. And I was real happy. I was walking around like this all the time, talking at 78. He thought that was probably because I was so happy because I was losing weight. I don't know. But I got on speed then, and from then on, man, I always had a doctor in L.A. and a doctor wherever I was, and I had them trained, and they sent me speed, and I took speed.
Such typical survivor behavior.
And I got speed anywhere I could.
I'm sure that there are millions of people out there that can identify with everything that you're saying.
God, I hope so.
We're going to go to one more commercial. When we come back, I want to know, there was a lot of money with your dad.
Where?
Was there money with your mother and money with your mother, and who got the money if there was indeed money? Because you know what your will said. Well, don't say not Justin. We have to hold till after the commercial. Where's that poker? We'll be right back. Be back in a moment. Back in a moment. Get the poker.
Who runs this house?
Whoa, baby!
5 nights a week, she's 40 pounds of trouble, but she'll walk off with your heart if you're not careful. She knows how to wrap 3 handsome hunts around her baby finger.
Cut it out.
It's Michelle, and she runs a full house. Weeknights at 7:30, starting Monday on Channel 5.
Injury Claim Center, can I help you?
I hurt my back and my neck at work today. The company doctor says it's nothing. I want to see an outside doctor. I can't work like this.
Let me make an appointment for you in your area.
Call the Injury Claim Center at 1-800-654-8888. There's no cost to you. You're entitled to workers' compensation benefits for any work-related injury. You cannot be fired due to a work-related claim. Get help, get money, get benefits. Call now, 1-800-654-8888.
10 a.m. tomorrow is fine.
How come you haven't called to have pure, great-tasting Sparkletts water delivered to your home? Now that you're out of excuses, call 1-800-962-9090, extension 6012, and take advantage of this special offer from Sparklets. Come on, we're talking 10 free gallons here. Offer ends soon.
We are back. We are talking about growing up in Hollywood hell. Wills, your dad was one of the richest men, Bing Crosby, when he died.
Was he?
You didn't get...
That's good news. Huh?
Didn't get much?
Haven't heard from him. Haven't heard. The lawyers didn't call. I don't know when. No, I wasn't. The first 4 were left out.
Left out?
Yeah, we were a disappointment. We didn't come out the way you wanted us to.
Because there were millions there, so you got nothing. Nothing.
Well, there was supposed to be a $10,000 interest payment on Mary Frances's whatever legal thing, and if she didn't need it, I could get it, but she needed it. So it's like that. But to tell you the truth, I never expected anything. I knew when I was 10 that he didn't like me and I wasn't going to like him, and it was that way, and I cut it off then. I never expected anything from him because I knew he didn't like me.
Christina, we know she left. You know why, so you got nothing.
Right, but I think most of the money was spent on herself while she was alive.
Mm-hmm. And what about you?
Same. Mother didn't leave very much, but she did give me the honor of formally disinheriting me and her grandsons. You know, so that was, the National Enquirer tried to make a lot out of that, and they didn't get too far with it.
But you're all functioning now, thank God.
Yeah.
What are you doing now? I mean, you moved ahead in your life.
I'm a sporting artist. I do paintings, mostly of equestrian scenes. I do hunt scenes. I do commissions of people on their horses, on their front lawns, and I love oil painting. I've been trained in it, and that's what I'm doing full-time now.
And what are you doing?
Well, I've written 3 books, and I'm working on my 4th one about surviving in the 90s.
Great. Oh, we can all use that.
And I do a lot of public speaking around the country, talking to women's groups, mental health groups, children's groups, that kind of thing.
I speak to a lot of Christian groups.
Same thing. And what about you, Gary?
I'm still a singer and an actor, and I work when they hire me. Of course, I loused up my life pretty good with alcohol and drugs a long time ago, but I'm 10 years clean and sober with Alcoholics Anonymous, and I speak to them.
That's great.
Whenever they hire me, I work.
Let me ask you, for parents out there, you've all gone through such difficult times, and you've all come through, and you're all sitting here, thank goodness, able to talk about it. What's your advice to parents out there? What was your advice? Yeah, let's just go down the line.
Okay. What I've found, an overall general statement would be this. A kid needs discipline. You have to discipline the kid. You have to give him parameters in which to grow up in.
Absolutely.
Apply discipline. But if you're going to apply discipline, apply it the same degree of fervor and enthusiasm to the discipline. Apply that when he does something good. In other words,
like people.
Yell at him when he does something wrong. Yell just as loud when he does something right.
But happily.
Yeah. And the kid will love you because you're getting the same treatment. You know.
Treat your kids like people.
Right.
Treat them the way you'd like to be treated. They're people.
Well, I think mine would be a little bit different, and that is that if you have had a difficult childhood, if you have had difficulty with your parents, you must address that first. Otherwise, you will take out inadvertently and not intentionally all the things that you never wanted to do and never wanted to be on those children. So you're going to have to address your own life first in order to be the kind of parent that you really want to be.
Well, I thank you all. We're out of time. It's wonderful, wonderful
Thank you,
show.
Joan.
Thank you. And nice to see all of you and to see you in such good condition. You know what I mean? And
thank you,
Justin, you're adorable. Don't get married too young. Look around. And, I may have a cousin for you. So don't move. And we'll be right back with more gossip on Princess Diana and Prince Edward. So cha-cha-cha. Stay with us.
Now, Glade